Hey everybody, Drew here, and you are in my shop with my own personal Tundra, and I just want to show you guys how to get the struts out of these beasts. This is going to cover the legendary 2007 through 2021 Toyota Tundra with very little differences, trim level to trim level. Obviously, this one is four-wheel drive, which you'll see in a moment. So there's a little less to watch out for on the two-wheel drives. None of this is going to apply to the six-cylinder turbo ones, 2022 and newer. Just going to show you guys the simplest way to do this with basic tools. And yeah, let's get started. First thing you got to do is take off the wheel, which is obviously 22 millimeters. And with that 100-pound wheel and tire out of the way, at least mine are, I run 33s, I just want to give you guys a scope of what you're up against. First and foremost, we really need to make sure that this lower control arm drops, like a lot. And it's not going to want to. There's a lot holding it back. First and foremost, you've got to do at least one of the two sides. You got to take the sway bar link off. And this little 19 right here is the way to do it. Now, if you're like me and I use an electric impact. There's also, I think I threw it under the truck to get it over here, a pretty high torque pneumatic impact. And most of the time, the nuts and bolts on this thing from the factory are torque past what those things can handle. So we got a good old-fashioned breaker bar and a cheater pipe, which is another jack handle. This is not like working on a Corolla, guys. You almost feel like you're working on a giant Camry, but you're not. You know, this is a rear-wheel drive solid truck with big solid nuts and bolts. I mean, these guys here for the control arm, some of you might have to crack those loose to be able to get this control arm down enough. Those are, I think, 11/16 of an inch fits. They're probably 24 or 25 millimeters, whatever. But there's some big nuts and bolts you got to work with. First thing, though, like I said, you got to take at least one side. The sway bar link has to come off. And there's 4 bolts on top, 1, 2, and then 3, 4 in the back. You're obviously going to want to deal with the ones in the back first. You are not going to be able to get on them with a socket wrench because this lip here is in the way. So a box wrench like this guy will do the trick to just get them loose. And then you might be able to get in there with a manual ratchet, but make sure you're good on them like this and crack them loose from up front. Take the back ones and one of the 2 front ones completely off first, and then we're gonna use the last one, probably this one here, or maybe this one here, because it's the easiest to get at with a power tool. Leave this one on while we deal with this train wreck here, which is this giant, I think that's a 22 millimeter. That has to come out, and then the other thing, or that might be a 21. The other thing is the ball joint caps, which are, or I call them caps, right here, there's one, and on the other side, and that holds the ball joint assembly to the steering knuckle, which is just absolutely brilliant. And the way this truck is put together, I mean, I don't want the new Tundra, like, at all. Like, if I won one, if I got one for free, I would sell it and, buy this one back from whatever junkyard it ended up in and fix it. Just the way this thing is screwed together is absolutely insane. You could tell that they designed this thing to last forever, probably because they were in the process of trying to steal shares from Chevy, Ford, and Dodge, and boy, did they do it. I mean, this truck has 225,000 miles on it, and you'd never know, except for the struts, which is why we're changing them. So I'm just going to get those off up there. This guy, get on it from right there in front of, or I should say behind this one, and right here, get on it right there. There we go. And you don't have much room to work, but there you go. Right in front of the other one is where you get on it. Right here. I'm on it, and I've got about an inch before I get to that firewall. You could tap it. You could get on it with another wrench. Once it's loose, life gets easier. Okay, so this guy here and the 2 back ones are off. This one's loosened and ready to go. And as you see here, by my ability to wiggle the knuckle assembly, I took out these 2 beastly 22 millimeters. That's the head. It's 22 millimeter. Not sure the actual size and pitch of the thread. But those are off from down here, which holds the ball joint assembly to the knuckle. Next thing I'm going to do is tackle this bad boy here. Usually you get it by taking off the nut on this side, and then I just use a drift to push it on through. And what we're going to do next is basically get the bottom of the strut out of that little saddle. And from there, that's where things get a little weird, but they're very doable. So stay tuned. Now guys, keep in mind, there's tension on this bolt. So once it pops out, it's gonna grab your drift, but you just whack the drift from the other side. There she goes. And then your drift should come out. Of course, mine gonna make a liar out of me on this side. Easy peasy. We're just gonna pry down on the control arm to get it out. Now, next thing is to get out the sway bar link. This is not in any necessarily specific order, but this guy here, to get this out, I guess you don't need to move the control arm, but the problem is inside there is the only place I could find to get a pry bar on to actually pull this down. I'm not so much worried that that's stuck in there, but obviously we need to get this guy up and out of that saddle. So I'm going to take this off. Like I said, it's a 19. That guy comes out nice and easy because there's no pressure. Of course, I spoke too soon. It's a little stuck in there. Comes out easy because there's no pressure on the sway bar. If we whack that up, it just comes right out of there. So there we go. Now that that's out of the way, hopefully it stays out of the way, you can get the pry bar and put it in. There's a hole in the back of that little saddle for that guy. And there you go. So it is extremely difficult to pry this control arm down. So what I've been doing is using a jack handle. I'm going to try to give you guys as much as I can here, but I'm in a cramped space. The shop is not set up for constant work on trucks, and I'm really glad I don't constantly work on trucks. More of a small car shop, which is fine by me, but again, this is my Tundra. This is dangerous crap right here, just so you know. But I'm going to pry this bad boy down, making sure that I'm well seated in that saddle there. And get this guy out of the saddle that it sits in. So now that that's out of the way, what we're going to do is we're going to get that top, this guy here, we're going to get that out, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how easy the strut will come out with all that said and done. Something feels a little bit tighter than the other side, but maybe that's just my imagination. As I said, the last one there that I left in, this guy here, you can get at with a power tool, which is how I like to work. Save knuckles and elbows and wrists and all that stuff. All right. Now, as you see, I hope you see, it fell right down. I'm going to move you to the other side here. So there you go. So the strut, if you can see it right there, it comes out. You're just gonna grab the top of it and kind of lower it, or the bottom of it, whatever, lower it out. And as long as you don't want to pull this out too far, because you absolutely will screw up your front axle shaft here, your CV axle. But there it is. It's out. So it's actually a lot easier of a job than it looks. The problem is everything is huge. Every torque spec is insane. Every nut and bolt looks like it ate one of the red and white mushrooms from Mario Brothers. It's just all massive crap. But the name of the game, with that ball joint disconnected, this bad boy here, the whole assembly slides to the front of the truck, and your path to get it out is right in between the tie rod and the control arm off to the front. The name of the game here is leaving one, if you feel more comfortable, leave two of these bad boys in, and just get the bottom, the loop, the hole there, right there at the end of it, out of that saddle first. If you don't do that first, you'll never be able to do this. So I'm Drew. That's how you get the struts out of a 2007 through 2021 Toyota Tundra. I'm certain that at some point, if you bothered to look this up, that means you were stuck or you were preparing for the job you're about to do and you're not looking forward to it. If you saw anything in this video that was helpful, really appreciate the thumbs up, guys. It helps the internet know that this is helpful content, directs more people to here, and it just blesses my bones, which are old and tired from doing crap like this more often than I want to. So anyways, I'm Drew with possibly the best pickup truck ever made, the 2007 through 2021 Toyota Tundra. If I could do it, you could do it. God bless, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.